let's start talking about the new loop right here. T-Dub's wondering how much premium research can you do per $100 pack. Haven't even looked at the packs and stuff yet. We'll get to that in a bit. Yeah. So you've got a new refinery tab. You come into your new refinery, you go to your Mirror Expedition free chest, and you claim it, right? That gives you 900 of currency number 1. Somewhere in here, we're going to find it. Mirror vouchers. This is what you need to go through a gate to get into the system. It's going to cost you 300, I think, to get in. It's a 3-day cooldown. It gives you 900, which means you can make 3 trips. You can do it all 3 in the same day, or you can do them one at a time every day and space them out if you prefer to do that. For those of you who haven't seen where it is yet, over here below Klingon and Axion space, this is where you will find all the new Mirror Universe systems. The first couple systems here you can get into, but there's no real point in being in here because these new hostiles that are in here just drop par steel. There's no benefit to killing any of these things. They just drop junk. When you advance to the first levels of systems in here, you are going to see, by the way, Lord Infamous, thank you very much for the follow. You're going to come into your new systems here. These are still level 40 hostiles, but they're still dropping just par steel junk. But each of these new systems does have this entry rift, which is going to take you to one of the following systems: Axanar, Archer, or Andoria. These are the first entry-level 40 systems. It's going to cost you some loot. You know, your currency, it's 300 to use the rift. That's going to put you in. The instant you show up here, it immediately starts your cooldown timer, which is the second little wrinkle in this thing. You have a 20-minute timer when you enter the rift to go into the Mirror Universe to do all your farming, and then you automatically get kicked out. So there are some systems in here that do have mining nodes. They're probably not going to show up because I haven't explored any of them, but you can go to stfc.space and look up all the individual systems. You can go to systems right here. You just type in mirror. That'll pull them all up for you. It'll show you which ones actually do have the mining nodes on them. The mining rate is incredibly slow until you do the research to boost it. So just spoiler alert, save you the time. Don't waste your time doing it for right now, because until you do this common survey research to boost your percentages, you mine at a pretty slow rate. And remember, you only have 20 minutes. That counts for all systems, all ships, all the time, right? So you only have 20 minutes until your miner gets kicked out. So don't waste your time mining for right now, because there's no point in doing it until you get some of that research done. You're just going to get a little bit of currency, probably not enough to do a turn-in. That's just going to tick you off and make you think like, all right, well, great, I just wasted it. Now I got to wait 3 days until I get another pull so I can go back and try again. So skip over that part. All right. Again, once you come into these systems, you're going to fight hostiles. Now, there are a couple of different types of systems in here, too. A couple of rules, special rules we need to point out. Number 1, when you go into the Mirror Universe, your ship loses all of its protected cargo capabilities. So everything is exposed, nothing is protected. So if your server does not have updated rules in ROE that protects you from PvP in these token-based systems, yes, they are tokens. It's a different type of currency. They called it vouchers instead of tokens, but it's the same darn thing. You know what's talking about. Stop splitting hairs and trying to be a rules lawyer. You go into your token systems, you start farming hostiles and killing stuff, you accumulate a very small fraction of loot. I was in the level 40 system earlier. They were dropping like 16 apiece. That's not a lot. Even with the loot crew on, and even if I double it, right, I get 32 per kill. That's not a lot. That's very, very little. But if your ship is destroyed, even by a hostile, you lose everything. You get nothing. Good day, sir. Thank you for playing. Go back and try again. So you could have 500 loot, you could have 50,000 loot. It's all gone if you die. At all. Anywhere. To avoid that, you can either wait for your 20-minute cooldown, wait for your 20-minute timer to finish and complete, and it will then kick you back out all the way to one of the entry points where you came in through. At which point your protected cargo value will be restored. So if you're, if somebody's sitting there camping the spawn points waiting for you to come back, also it doesn't exactly drop you like right here at the gate. As you can see, these people here who are just sort of scattered around, chances are some of them got booted out. And this is just where they landed and ended up. It puts you in various spots all across the system here, so it's not even like you can sit here and camp here and wait for people to come out and then quick check them to see if they've got, any loot available. Because chances are they don't. But people were definitely doing that this morning. Or if you don't feel like waiting the 20 minutes, or, you can't cloak your ship and other people are chasing you around, well, then you can use your currency to move from whatever system you were in to one of these other systems that have the word extract in the title, which is where you will find an extraction point, which is an exit gate, which you can then go through, and it will kick you back out of the mirror universe, back down to these entry-level systems. So if you're, all the way out here doing stuff, you don't have to fly back system per system, because it does cost to move from system to system. You have to use currency to move every step of the way, as well as your timer is still running. So if I come in here from Alpha Centauri and I go to Axanar, my 20-minute timer has just started. And now I want to go to, we'll call it Kittimer. And this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jumps. That's 7 systems that I have to warp through using currency in each one, and not to mention the fact it puts you in at one side of the system and the gate to the next side, to the next system, is at the other side of the system. So I have to fly across it, then jump, then fly across Han, and then jump to Earthak, and then fly across Earthak and jump to Arcanus, etc., etc., etc. So your 20-minute timer is cooking. So battleships, not ideal for this, because especially if you're moving further and further into the higher level systems, because they're just really slow and you're wasting your 20-minute timer moving through. Hence why I put Curon on my ship. So if I am going to fly out to one of these deeper systems, I'm going to move across the system faster. Obviously, I'm going to kill something first before I go in to get his ability kicking. And then we'll fly around and blow up some stuff. Now, I also said, it cost me, like 300 to get into it. And then I think it's like 100 per system to move. Some of the systems may cost more. I don't know. I haven't looked that far into it. But we're going to try that in a little bit here. But again, that's the thing too. Like if I'm all the way out here and I'm in Thama killing stuff, and then I don't want to die because I don't want to lose all my stuff, and somebody's out here and I'm like, oh crap, I want to get out of here. I don't want to wait for my timer. I've got 12 minutes left on my timer and I have no hull health left. Well, I mean, I can either sit it out or cloak or something and wait, and hopefully the timer expires. Otherwise, I have to move spending currency to get to one of these extraction point systems, which again will really alter the mechanic of it. Like I said, there are, depending on what systems you're going to also, they take different currencies. A system like Ganalda here, which is where you would get through Andoria. Actually, you know what? Can I Can I NX01 this so I can actually show it and see what it looks like? Riker, you're in charge now. Let's see if we can't NX01 this and take a peek in. I did visit it first. Yep. I just want to make sure I can sort of demonstrate what we've got going on here. So if I went into Andoria, we can take a peek in. Temporary revealing. So this is where I would come in from Sirius. If I had taken the warp, it would have brought me into here. I'd find some level 40 hostiles here. That drops 16 loot. Not much. They're 7 million apiece. They're not very hard to kill. And if I wanted to go to one of the other systems, I'd have to fly across to the appropriate gate and then use, in this case, these are common currencies. Oh, but if I want to go to Ganalda here, well, that takes the premium currency. So there's different currencies to use different gates to travel to different systems, depending on where you're going. From what I understand, the hostiles in Ganalda, obviously, they're probably higher level because it's a premium system, so they drop additional currencies, higher level or more amounts of currency because they're higher or more valuable targets than some of the other systems do. But the big thing about these hostiles, again, you're getting very little currency per kill. Every regular hostile that you kill does drop a chest, though, and every chest I've seen, at least off the level 40s, has a guaranteed 100 currency in it. So I got like 75 or 80 kills off of these guys earlier, just doing the 40s in this entry-level system. I think I got like 1,500 loot off the basic level guys just from doing the kills. But then I got 75 or 80 chests that I opened, had another 8,000 in it. So that's really where the benefit's going to come from. It's coming from the loot chests. So there's another plus bonus working in your favor there. So extraction point systems are systems that have gates out of the mirror universe. They'll take you back to the entry level. So you don't have to wait your 20-minute timer, or you don't have to fly using your currency and moving and flying all the way back to the beginning. You can hit these extraction points from further out here. So Nevin, you got sent home back to your base when you tried to go to Ganalda. I heard people about that earlier because it's a weird thing. If you hit the gate and then while it's doing the cooldown, if you hit like any other buttons or something, sometimes it kicks you out. I don't know. There's a couple of bugs I've heard about. I haven't tried to go in here yet, obviously, with some of these premium systems and things. I know we're all shocked. Hold your breath. Obviously, just put in your customer service tickets, and hopefully they'll refund you the currency so you can try again later. So, also the other thing, in case you didn't hear this part of the whole conversation, all of this content is level 40 plus to access it. So if you're below level 40, there's nothing for you to do. There's nothing going on in here. And if you're on a newer server that's still capped at 39, well, now you're just sitting around with your thumb up your butt. Not because that's what you've chosen to do. It's just because your server doesn't have the ability to even get there yet, which is something I'm also not very thrilled or happy about. It's like they've capped your server because it's new and they don't want it to expand too quickly. And they're, in a way, then intentionally keeping you from participating in the new content, which I think is kind of crappy. So, I mean, if you're on an older server and you're purposely choosing to stay at 39 and not do, or you've done your Ascension key but you're not ready to move up, that's fine. That's your choice. You're choosing not to be involved in this new content. But if you're on a capped server, because maybe it's only been out for 4 or 5, 6 months, whatever it is, well, I'd have to imagine it feels kind of bad. I'd have to imagine it feels kind of bad about that. So, hypodermics killed a bunch of 48s. You only got 260 Trellium A and 3250 Trellium D from the chests. Seems rather low from 50 chests. Now that's a thing too, of course, is that there's two different types of Trellium. You've heard people joking all day that they need some more A and D. Well, there you go. So Trellium A is one particular type, uh, and D, the A is where you get common materials and rare materials from. The D is where you get your uncommon and your epics. Each chest contains one guaranteed roll of uncommon dust and then a chance to pull and one chance to pull epic. So you're guaranteed to get uncommon, and then there's a second pull that has a chance, a 1/3 chance to give you epic dust. If it doesn't give you epic dust, 2/3 of the time it won't. You'll get regular uncommon dust, and then it'll be mostly the regular pull 4 out of 5 times, but there's a slim chance you might get a large bonus too. So most of the time you're going to hit 275 because that's your automatic one and that's the one you're most likely to get. And then your second roll is most likely going to also be uncommon mirror dust, so there's another 275. So you're going to get 550 most likely off of whatever your turn-in requirement is. Now these refineries get boosted not by raising your ops level, but by doing the research. So at least you have some control over it. Unlike other things like the board cube and things like that, where we get upset because we tiered up the ship and now we're unhappy with the loop because it costs too much to do. It's not worth the payout, it's not worth the reward. This one, actually, I do like because you have the ability to control that. One of these researches in here, this mirror refinery advancement one, this one changes the payouts and costs. So as you level this up, the payouts increase, the costs increase proportional. So that way you get more bang for your buck, but it's up to you whether you want to move up or not. So I like that. So Tibs, June is month number 7 for your server. So your server's been around since like November of last year. That means either, yeah, usually, 6 to 12 months is kind of where they start ascending newer servers, but it really all depends on how quickly people are advancing. If you have a few guys who are at 39 just kind of sitting there, like a few whales, they may not move the ascension key up if the rest of the server population is still at like level 25. If, you've got a bunch of people who are 35 plus, like maybe 50 to 100 players that are 35 plus, then they might consider opening that up and whatnot. Also, obviously, just keep putting in customer service tickets, begging for ascension. If you happen to be one of the people in like the VIP Discord because you're a whale on your server, start complaining in there. Like, hey, this is stupid. People are quitting because we're stuck and we want to do this new content. And that may help expedite that process for you too. So, Bad Wolf's questioning, if the timer boots you out and you're holding cargo, you get to keep the cargo. Correct. When the timer's over, you just get kicked out. Now, again, people were camping the spawn points, waiting for everybody to warp back, hoping that they could snag them and kill them. But when you do warp back, your ship's protected cargo does restore, does kick back in. Now, if you happen to be over that because you took, a ship with a small protected cargo to it, like if I took, I don't know, what's a ship that's got a small cargo? If I took the Pilum, what's my protected cargo on this? 60K? Maybe, depending on what I killed. I might be over that, and somebody can snipe me and steal all the extra. Because we did test that, and we did confirm that earlier today, that it does actually, maybe there's a split second when it doesn't, if you happen to be like right there, but even then, I doubt it. I think everything would load up between when you warp in and someone sees you and then flies to target you and kill you. Your protected cargo should be back to normal by then. Again, if you're over that 60 whatever cap, which again, depending on what systems you're in, may not even be likely. Like I said, if I was killing those things earlier, I'm getting 16 a kill. I'm getting 1,000, 1,100, whatever currency by the time my 20-minute timer was up. Right now, in the beginning, probably not going to happen. Probably not something you need to worry about. Hunter, thanks for stopping by and hanging out. You can always catch the YouTubes tomorrow with all this content, which will be broken up later, so. If you die in the mirror universe systems, like the actual currency, the actual gated systems, if they kill you in Mirror Wolf, which is, or Sirius, which are on, the regular side of the gate, you have your protected cargo, so those don't really count. It's when you get killed out in these systems out here that your protected cargo on your ship is reduced to 0. So, we're going to try going in here and doing some jumps now. I think somebody was watching Guardians of the Galaxy when doing this one too. Because again, it's jump points, right? Jump points. And we're going to try and work our way, if I can, to at least a more reasonable, higher level system here. We got 40, 40, there's a 51. I'm going to try to go to Babel. Maybe I'll go to Inari afterwards. But we're going to start here. I'm going to go from Alpha Centauri. I'm going to pick up a kill here to trigger my Curon to get my impulse speed up. So now we're cooking a little bit. Because the instant I go in here, my 20-minute timer is going to start. The gold and glitter systems are because they require a different currency to get into. Those require the premium tokens. So this one right here just requires the regular. I get 300 of those. I get 900 of those every 3 days. That's the cooldown. That's your gift. That's your drip. Costs you 300 to get in, so you get 3 trips every 3 days. All right, we just warped to Axanar. Bam, I'm in Axanar. Now my 20-minute timer has just started. If I click on my ship, I can see my timer right up here next to Picard's big bald head. I can kill a level 40 hostile. Nice, quick, and easy. These are only 7 million, right? It got me a little bit of currency. But we're going to go to the next system. We're going to Deneb here. Now we're using a different currency. Now we're using our common rift keys. Because this is what you use within the mirror universe. Cost me 100. Now I'm going from Axanar to Deneb. Same thing, same hostiles. These same level 40s. There's an extraction point. That would kick me back out. That would take me to Ordesia, which has an extraction system if I wanted to, but I want to go to Babel. So I need to take this rift here so I can go to Babel. That's going to cost me another 100 currency, so now I've spent 200 so far. Now we've gone to Babel. Now we're looking at some bigger hostiles here. Now this one here, these are 800 million. I'm getting 275 loot, so there's a big jump up from the 40s to the 50s. And there are systems in between. But these guys are kind of soft, kind of squishy. Like 850 million power up against my 370 million, and they didn't even put a scratch on me. And now we're going to go one system further to Inari here in just a second. Carissa, thank you very much for renewing your subscription with Twitch Prime. Appreciate that. Also, if I didn't call it out earlier, Akalka, thank you very much for the follow earlier. I missed that one. I'm sorry. I was probably in the middle of a rant. All right, so now we're going to spend another 100 Rift. So again, moving from each system cost me 100. And I'm going all the way up here to Inari. And now to get to the system I actually wanted to be in all along, I'm already down to 17 minutes on my timer. So 3 minutes of my 20 minutes was already wasted just getting to the system I want to be in. Oy vey. Alright, now we're fighting these 55s here, and again, these things seem very squishy. I'm just kind of steamrolling right over them, right? What am I getting? I got 2,000 of the Trellium A, so we're getting Trellium A materials here. All Trellium A. Where would I find Trellium D, though? Which crew am I using? I'm just using Enterprise, E, Picard, and Data for some loot crew and isolytic damage, along with Curon, so I have an impulse speed boost, so I move between targets faster and move across systems faster. Now, I'm not going to go up to Barclay because I saw those hostiles earlier, and they're pretty big and beefy. They were like 8 billion power. So we're not going to give that a try there. But I would probably have to look this up on stfc.space because you can... Oh, stfc.space. Let's see if we can't figure this out while we're killing some stuff. Figure out which systems in here drop... Where have the hostiles that drop what? What's in this dollar round system? Okay, so there's other hostiles in here and some of these other systems too that have miners in them. That's something we didn't talk about. We can look them up on stfc.space real quick. So there are survey ships in some of the systems as well. Dalaran is one of them that happens to be near me. It's got a survey ship. The survey ships work completely differently. The survey ships do not drop a chest that has the Trellium loot in it. The survey ships, first off, their reward, they don't give you Trellium either. They give you faction rep. For all 3 factions, all 3 are positive gains. And then in your loot chests, it will give you faction credits for one of the 3 factions. So it might give you like 50 Klingon credits, and then I think the base value is 9,000 for the smallest ones. So you'll get 9,000 rep for all 3 factions, Klingon, Romulan, and Federation. So just be mindful of when you're killing those that you're not getting the loot you might be thinking you're going to be getting. You're getting something else different instead. And just to see the difference here in terms of loot chest payouts, I'm going to... So normally I was getting from the low level 40s, they were worth 100 apiece. We're going to kill one more of these things. Now I'm killing the 50s. My loot chest is giving me 3,000 apiece. So that's where all the loot's coming from, right? These little guys are dropping 480, even with the loot crew on. Maybe I'm getting, what, 600, 700? But I'm getting way more from the chests, which will be more than enough to use my refinery for a while. So now I just need to figure out where to go. Is the loot dust? No. It's raw trellium is what the loot is. Raw trellium A and raw trellium D. You use those in your refinery tab, and it will then give you some of the dust that you are interested in to do your research. Now the question is where can I go to get the other type of trellium? That's what we were trying to find here. I know Jules did just put out a chart. Hopefully he's got the systems on it. They were talking about it earlier. What's my timer at? I still got 12 minutes left. Okay, we still got plenty of health left. Let me find, hopefully this is in the STFC officer tool in the charts section. Hopefully mirror universe early look. Yes. Hostile drops. Yeah, I think I have to move to this next section out here, which is kind of far. So maybe what we'll do, since I've already burned half my timer, screw it. Actually, you know what? Let's do this way. Let's do this way, right? Let's do it this way. We're going to do some of this, and then we'll repair, and then we'll come back. Bad Wolf says, I can't quit the game because you guys need me to explain all these complicated arcs. Well, it's very kind of you. I appreciate that. And if they just stop making these complicated arcs, I think we'd all be in a lot better spot. But I do appreciate that. Thank you. The green background systems is in the green. Yeah, I got to get all the way out there, and I'm kind of on the wrong side, so it's going to cost me a bunch of stuff anyway. And since I'm already, kind of half dead here and half my timer's gone, we're going to come back and use our third loop to get the Trellium D. Looking at the map, how do you know what systems are extraction systems? Because it has the word extraction in parentheses. Mirror Ordesia, extract. Mirror Pagem, extract. So it tells you at the map right there, so then you know exactly where you need to head to go. Do you have to pay your way to go back to each system to get back to your base? Yes. Every system you move through costs you 100 currency. So again, if I didn't want to pay, I would just sit here for 9 minutes and let my timer run out. That is an option. Again, depending on what your server rules are and things like that, you could be sitting here exposed with a bunch of cargo. I could be sitting here with 35,000 cargo for 9 minutes waiting for somebody to come by potentially and kill me, which means I can't really just sit here. I have to actually fly around and or at least be watchful until my timer runs out. Or I can fly to an extraction point, spend a little currency along the way in order to do it. So but in this case here, we're just going to grab as much of this loot as we can. And then I'm going to head to one of those extraction points there in a minute, just to demonstrate again how that works. You could cloak, obviously, if you have a ship that has cloaking capabilities. That's the easiest way to do it, right? Throw up a cloak and just come back, as long as your cloak outlasts the timer. Dub's asking, does the timer reset back to 20 when you change systems? No. Your 20-minute timer starts the instant you go through the entry-level gate, and then each additional system you want to get to is just chewing up more of your timer. So it's just going to slow you down as you're warping around. And again, that's why I took Curon. so I can fly from system to system and move around faster. All right, I think this was good enough to at least make me feel like I didn't waste my currency. All right, so we're going to set course here. Now we're going to use this common rift to go to Ordesia. It doesn't change the systems for you, which I find a little annoying. Now we're here in Ordesia, and here's my extraction point. I can set course and take my extraction point. Now that I'm in that circle, I can use this rift for free. This is the extraction rift. And it's basically telling you if you do this, it's kicking you out. And there we go. So now I just landed back in Alpha Centauri in the middle of this circle. My protected cargo kicked back in, and as you can see, I'm just under my limit. My protected cargo on this ship was 92,000. So if I had been above it, somebody could have been sitting here waiting for me. The other option, of course, is once you get back to this system, you can then use your disco to then warp yourself home faster. Since nobody is going to know right where you come up, and since disco summoning is basically instant, you can do that. You cannot use disco while your ship is still over here in the mirror universe. But once you hit an extraction point or your 20-minute timer runs out and it kicks you back to one of these entry-level systems, now you can use your discovery to bring yourself home. So, and then as far as what we got there, we got over 100,000. I think when I did this poll earlier, we can look at, I'm sure Jules might have a chart on this. Let's go look. See what the refineries look like. See if we can't pull this up. Yeah. So a single chest pull here of the Trellium A. One chest is 2,800. Two chest pull is 11,000. That looks right. I think I did a 2,800 chest pull earlier today. And then I got another. So if I wanted to do a double pull, I would need 11,000. And this one is a 20-hour cooldown, so basically once a day. So I need 11,000 a day of the Trellium A. And from doing those things there, I got 110,000 between the kills and the boxes, and I've got 29 more boxes to open here, which I'm going to do right now. And that gave me another 76,000. So I have like 200,000 A, and I need 11,000 to do some chests. So basically I'm good for like 2 weeks. Now we got to find some Trellium D. So now we can do those chest pulls. That one has a 3-day cooldown on it, 68 hours, but that's where you get your uncommons and your epics from. So now we need to go find some of the Trellium D. Jules did post a chart. Let's open this one too, in case you guys... It's in Lube's Discord. So this is one, this will tell you where you're getting, what the hostiles are dropping and what systems they're in. So you can kind of map it out, and you can see here, this little chart, costs to travel. You've got your 300 entry level cost to get in, and then it's 100 base to move within the systems I was just moving within. And then over here, when you're trying to get into that green zone, well, now you're using a different currency. Now you're using uncommon currency, which is a green token, to move through those systems. There's also those gold sparkly systems. Those use yet another currency. That's called a premium token, premium rift token, and that's what you need to move to those systems. So not only do you have multiple things you need to farm, to do multiple refineries that have different cooldowns on them that will give you different currencies needed for research and things. But even the path to get to the systems to do the farming also requires multiple currencies. Uh, yeah. So, and it will tell you here what you need to sort of jump to these other different systems and what the hostile drops and things you're going to find are going to be in those systems. So we need to, when we're done repairing, we're going to need to chart a path. It's like I got to get all the way out here, which means I got to go through Archer to Deneb to Ordesia to Han to Earthak to Arcanus. Now, if I wanted to use the premium currency, I could shorten my trip and go from Sirius to Andoria. That's my entry level point. Just go to Ganalda here and then go right from Ganalda to Alaterra. And that would skip right over some stuff. And that would save me the trouble of having to dink and dunk my way around through other systems. But again, I'm using a premium currency to do that. But it does seem to cut down on the path there. And then from here, I guess I could work my way up potentially to, you know, one of these better systems up here to even potentially get more loot. I guess we're going to try it. Research to reduce costs, yeah. Also in the refinery, you also have options to trade down, right? And do other things. So the first refinery, we'll look at this one. They're basically mirrors of each other, right? You cash in currency, you're guaranteed to get the liquid Trellium D from either refinery. One of the refineries, you convert A into common or rare dust. You convert D into uncommon or, if you're lucky, epic dust. The liquid, you go over here and you can buy things with. You can upgrade your holodeck. You can get additional currencies. If you need materials for upgrading, here's some forbidden tech materials that you might have a shot at getting. You can get the NX-01 officers. You can also do a rift key exchange here, where you can get more rift keys, so you can go back and try again, do more chances. Each chest contains 2 guaranteed rolls of commons, 1 guaranteed roll of uncommons, and a chance to pull premium. 3% chance to pull premium rift keys. If successful, you'll get most likely 10 keys. So you're going to get some commons and some uncommons, and you've got a 3% chance at getting the premium ones to take your shortcut. You can also swap the Trellium D for additional dust. Again, each chest contains 3 guaranteed rolls of dust. Common, uncommon, rare, and epic. At least this part here, you got a much better chance of getting rares and epics than you do from some of the other rolls. The quantity amounts aren't great. You're most likely going to get the small amount most of the time. 6 out of 10 times you're going to get the small amounts, but at least you've got a shot at getting some of the rares and epics this way. So that's what you're doing with the liquid Trellium. from your refinery, from your multi-layer refinery. The other thing that you can do is you can trade down stuff, just like with the Xborg store. So if you get some uncommons and you're like, well, I want to do some common research first, you can swap it. You can trade it out. You swap 80 uncommon for 100 common. Doesn't seem like a good exchange rate to me. Swap 70 rare for 80 uncommon. Swap 60 epic for 70 rare. Not really all that great. So basically you could swap 60 epic for 70 rare, then trade the rare for 80 uncommon, to then trade the uncommon to get 100 common. So you could convert 70 epic into 100 common dust using all of your, 60 epic to 100 common dust using all of your trade-ins if you wanted. You can also use your premium rift keys if you were lucky enough to get them. They gifted us a couple, right? Everybody got a 300 gift to kind of start with. But if you wanted to trade them in to get more commons, you can dump 10 of them for 100 common or 20 of them for 100 uncommon. That would then give you the ability to travel a little bit differently through some of these systems. So, is there research to reduce costs? I don't know. Haven't looked at the research tree. It might be in there. If not, it might be something that they add more of later. There's like 75 new researches. I haven't even looked at it. There's a lot of stuff going on in here. Just when you think you've started to figure out how the loop goes, then you can come in here and get even more confused. A lot of this uses common dust, at least for the first few levels. I'm sure as you progress and move up in things, it will start to cost the uncommons and rares and epics. There's new primes in here too. Get a little bit of trillium. Mining speed is right there. Here's your first common barrier one, right? They talked about how, every 10,000 apex barrier that you get is equivalent to basically doubling the number of hostiles you can kill, like an extra 100% mitigation damage. Well, if you max this one out, you only get the 600, so you got a little ways to go before you're really getting there. Now that I've done that research, let's take a look at a battle log here and just see if it shows it does. So there you go. So here's our new battle log with our enhanced stats now and our new apex barrier research in here. So coming right off the top, let's just take a look at our calculator for a second here. Let's do some math, shall we? 2788883 divided by 3926435. That's my base, 71% mitigation. So it shot me for 4 million. I mitigated 2.8 million of it, or 71%, just like normal. So what that left was 1.1 million damage. Also isolytic, I've got some isolytic defense. I mitigated a little bit of that. So that left, it hit me for 400. I mitigated 100, left another 300 out there. So I've got 1.4 million damage floating around. Now my apex barrier comes in. And that's basically what, like 1%? 14131 times... Oops, I meant to do 100. Yeah. I mitigated 1% extra of that damage because I have that first little bit of apex barrier. So I blocked another 14,000 of it. Then what's left, now it's 1.3,850,000 approximately. Now goes to the shields. 80% go to the shields and 20% goes to the hull health. So this new apex barrier is just another level of mitigation that kicks in after your standard and after your isolytic, when all that damage is then would be funneled into your shields. Apex barrier kicks in and stops a little bit more of it. And obviously as you level this up more, or if you have officers like the new Picard that boost that further, this number is going to be further. And this number helps because it's after the other mitigations have already hit their caps, right? This base mitigation 71.19 is the limit. So anything else that's coming through, I'm getting additional protection from. As a percentage of the shot taken, it's pretty insignificant. It is at the very, very preliminary stages. I only have one research done, one level of this. I have 100 apex barrier. So it stopped 1% of the remaining damage that's left over. Now, as I can level up this research a little bit, I can get this up to 6%, which will stop a little bit more. Plus, I'm sure there's a lot of other things that are going to come around in some of these other, further researches out here that are going to help that. And of course, you also have our brand new officers that are also going to boost that. Mirror Picard here, right? If they've got Assimilate, he increases your apex barrier by 10,000. Well, 100 was equal to 1%. 10,000 is equal to 100%. And it tells you that right here in the little tooltip. So if he's absorbing 10,000 additional damage, that's not really a lot of any damage then that should be going through then, shouldn't it? That doesn't sound right. I guess we'll have to get Picard to find out. This is only against players. Well, that could be a thing too. Oh, it is true. It is against other players, right? But even still. Also, this ability does not trigger with Tal. That's another little wrinkle. I guess you can't do this to mitigate all of their damage and then just use Tal to burn them back. I guess they thought about that and put that little loophole in. And you've got your new data here too. Against players, he's giving you additional barriers. So the new players are your new PvP meta for your new guys there. Oh yeah, and eventually people are going to get even higher. Because again, these researches and things are just going to continue. And I mean, there's primes and stuff in here too that are going to boost that. Prime apex barrier. Well, there's another 500 and there's another 1,000. So that's another 10% right there that you can mitigate. And here, this one over here, well, that's 6% more. So now you're up to 16%. And I'm sure some of these other nodes here, this is all player stuff. Parts efficiency, parts efficiency. Crit damage. More shield health. Well, maybe they didn't go too crazy with it right off the bat. But as they add more things, maybe they'll add some forbidden tech, maybe they'll add some artifacts, whatever else they may add later in the game that may add more apex barrier stuff. It's just going to reduce that cost and that damage even further. So good thing you went all in on Kirk and don't know what to use him for. Well, that's a different topic there. So where do you get apex barrier? That's research that you do, GP. You do the research. Do your research. Scarron's going to skip the next month or two and go take a long nap. You are probably not alone. So we're going to hop in here again, and we're going to try and make it this time to the green level systems, which is where I will get the Trillium D, so then I can do the other refinery. But first things first, we got to get our impulse speed up. Because, well, I don't know about you, but I want to be able to move through these systems pretty fast. All right, so we're going to Andoria. All right, so now we're in Andoria. Now I'm going to try to take this premium gateway. I've got 300 of that premium research. There is an event going on today where it's basically kill 50 hostiles or kill 5 players in order to complete it. But I know it cost me 40 to move to that system. Yikes. So basically I can do like 7 trips to there. So now I'm in Ganalda here. So this is where I'm seeing my first mining nodes. And as you can see, the mining rate is pretty poor on those. Base mining is 35 an hour, even with a like a Nova 2,500 an hour, but I don't get an hour. You get 20 minutes. So basically I'll get a third of that. So I'd get 800. Which is why you have to get the mining boost before you waste your time doing any mining. Now I'm going to use the rift to warp out. Did not cost me anything to get from Ganalda here to Alaterra. Now these guys are still dropping Trillium A. Oh, there's a mission here. That'll give me some additional extra currency. 15,000 raw, which is what I got earlier. So bam, I complete that. And now I get a bonus. This just gave me a whole bunch of dust to do some research with. This is your hidden secret gem mission, whatever you want to call it. Basically like your field training for engaging in the new content. It is in the Alaterra system. Just make sure you've got 15,000 loot before you go in here, and you get a nice big bonus to go do some research with. Now we're going to try and go to Hoven. That cost me 100. Now I'm in Hoven. And now we're killing these hostiles here that are dropping both materials, Trillium D and A. So I'm getting both from the stuff in this Hoven system. And I want to look at the chests too to see how big the difference in the chests are. Valiant's what I mean by 15,000 loot. The mission requires you to have 15,000 raw Trillium A to donate. So make sure you've got at least 15,000 available before you waste your time going in there, because you're going to turn it in right then. And then it will convert for you. And then from here, I can go to Morska or Beta Penthe. I guess I'm going to take my chances in Beta Penthe, which is what GP's saying is where he is. Those are 58s. They could be a little beefy. You thought you have to have that in cargo? No, you just have to actually have it, on your account. You don't have to kill stuff until you get 15,000 loot. That would be insane. And let's just see what we're doing here. So how are we doing? These are given a little bit of Trellium D, not much. But my other options would be to go from here. It doesn't look like there's anything really in between. Beta, it's 48, there's a 50, and then a 58. There's no like 51s or 53s or anything that I'm seeing. So I guess we're going to beta penthe. And again, had to use multiple jump points to get where I was going, using additional currency, and again, ticking off my clock here. So we're down to 15 minutes. So now we're in beta penthe. And now we've got some 58s. Let's kill a 58 battleship. So this is 2 billion. Well, we killed it, so that's encouraging. And I took practically no damage still. Getting 100 and getting 90. Even going against the triangle. You can definitely punch up on these things more than you think you should be able to, because you're looking at this thing going, oh wow, it's 2 billion power. I'm 370 million. Like, this thing should kick the crap out of me. And yet it's barely leaving a scratch on me. So again, I could kill this stuff for a while, and let's look at these chests here. What are we getting? 1,500 now out of 4 chests. Each individual chest on the 58s is dropping 700 raw Trellium D. That's per chest on the 58s. And again, so far so good in terms of hull damage and stuff like that. We're going to kill a few more of these before I move up the next notch and give it a try. And again, the loot from the actual kills isn't all that much. So having a loot crew, sure, it helps get you a little bit extra, but you could use, you know, Pike, Moreau, E-Data, you could use 5 of 11, you know, or Strange New Worlds officers, or Janeway and the Doctor. It really doesn't seem like it matters a whole lot. But if you don't have either Picard or Data, probably just better off going with like a Janeway Doctor crew, maybe. Janeway Doctor 5. I don't know. Alright, let's take it up a notch. And let's go one more system here. Or Janeway 5 and Curon or something to move faster. I don't know. There's all kinds of, I guess, stuff you could use. Because again, it doesn't seem like the hostiles are really hitting very hard. Alright, so we're moving up one more system to Velata. Now these guys are 3.5 billion power. They're dropping 200 and 160. That one took a little more damage. That one took a bit more damage. Not bad, but enough. Enough that I noticed that it was different. Yeah, I haven't really read the battle log, Retro Hunter, so if the first shot is a big shot, that's usually when Janeway's ability kicks in after you've been hit. So she may not be doing a whole lot for you. And a Strange New World crew or something else, just 5 of 11 or somebody like that might be better. Three loot boxes here, so getting about 1,100 per off the 60s. Right, 1075, 1275. Okay. What's the impulse speed crew? Anything using Curon could be good for that, or using Claw. You could use Burnham, who boosts impulse speed. You've got Riker now, who also boosts impulse speed from the Enterprise E arc. There's like 4 or 5 good impulse speed officers. And in fact, you could use your search ability. See, now I got 10 minutes left and very little hull health. And now it's like, well, I don't want to die and lose all this Trellium here. So how much did that? This is where I have to either start getting selective. I can probably get like 2 more kills. But we're going to stay within the triangle. For at least one more shot here. I don't feel confident in my ability to get another kill. Now, if I wanted to work my way back to an extraction point to get out of here, I'd have to go back to Beta Penthe and then to an extraction point, and I'd have to spend 200 additional currency to do so, which is drastically going to limit my ability to move around in these systems later, which kind of stinks. But the other option is I just hang out here for 9 minutes and hope nobody comes by and kills me. I don't have cloaking on this ship yet. I don't have it unlocked. If I did, I would absolutely just cloak and wait. But I do not have that option. So I guess for science, because I'm also curious about one other thing too, before I jump back into chat and see what you guys are talking about there. So I go back to Beta Penthe. And now I could go up here to Karaya to my extraction point. Requires a warp range of 800. I can't even get to the damn extraction point. Nope, out of range. Requires a warp range modification there. So now I don't have a choice, because my only other options from there, I could go back to Hoven. I can't go to Karaya for my extraction point. I could go back to Hoven and extract and use, again, more currency to do so, or I'd have to wait it out another 7.5 minutes. Yeah. So that's it. So not even, so in addition to the currency locks and the time restriction locks, they still have warp range locks on them too. Isn't that fun? So now I would use this rift and take me back to Hoven. And then I could extract myself right on out of here, free of charge. Doesn't cost you anything to extract. Guess I'll have to work on my Sanctus cloaking, so I don't have to worry about some of this stuff. It's free to warp home. And then the instant I do that, now I'm out. Now I could just hit the recall button and charge up my warp and fly myself on home and hope I make it. Make sure there's nobody hanging around my base. Doesn't matter now though, because my cargo's back to being protected, so. All right. Let's see what else I missed. G-Play had a big question earlier. Your Ops 35 triple locked 10 million at the factions, and at the moment you're upgrading the Saladin. and working on the specialty ships like the Vidard. I want to hardcore farm Fed credits to get the parts of the Enterprise. Would that be the way I should go, or do you suggest something else? That sounds reasonable, going for an Enterprise. Um, you're going to need a lot of faction credits to do it. Don't forget about using your away team store and things like that to source the blueprints for it. 35 and triple locked is pretty good spot to be in. You will have to build a G3 Epic before you can advance above Ops 39 anyway, so you might as well get one going. And the Enterprise is a good. The only one I wouldn't build is the D4. The Enterprise or the Augur are fine, but I wouldn't build the D4. It just doesn't. It doesn't hold up, and it certainly doesn't scale up. And it's easily replaced by Defiant and Talios and those kinds of things too. So I think you're doing all right. Would I recommend going right to the green systems or do the first systems? Well, you kind of need a little bit of both because you need both currencies, because you need both refineries. So you can't just jump right. You get very little off killing the hostiles, and the green systems, the chests, only drop the Trellium D. And as you can see, I got, 18,000 from that little excursion that I was in there, which is just barely enough for me to do a double pull. But this refinery also has a 3-day cooldown on it. So I'm going to do this double pull. I got a little bit of epic dust, so I got lucky there, and I got the 550 uncommon that I was expecting. And now I have to wait 3 days before I can do that anyway, which is fine because I'm out of tokens to get in there, and I have to wait 3 days to get those back too. So I've got enough to do this for a while now, so now I can skip over some of the A because I was able to stockpile a bit while I was in there. And now if I wanted to, I could come over to my liquid Trellium store and I could do some swapping here and try to get more keys, so I can move through more systems. Or I could swap it to try and get more dust to do research and things like that. So, can I collect this free chest? And yeah, it just says view here. I may have already gotten this one, and instead of having a cooldown timer, I don't know. I don't know if there's a cap on these or what the limit is. So, but now that I did get some of that currency between the refineries and completing my mission, although before I do all that, let's look at the calendar, shall we? Make sure there is, see if there's like an event to do the new researches or anything. Here's a Forbidden Tech upgrade later in the month. We've got Recruit Picard events only for the first 2 weeks. The third week not listed on the calendar, so we don't know what the third weekend will be, as par for the course these days. That's killing Gorn. We got that coming up soon. Docking Trellium, destroying hostiles, completing the Mirror Rush events. Docking. Mirror upgrades SLB. Spending mirror research dust on the tree. Okay. That's the 4th and the 5th, so that's today and tomorrow. And then there's also an SMS later in the week to also spend dust. So don't go too crazy with your dust right off the bat, because you might need some of it for these other SMS events later in the week. A lot of killing stuff, a lot of fighting stuff. Quantum events. You may have noticed the new term quantum being flown around. I think we heard people talking about that they're retiring the phrase heroic to describe events, and I guess they're trying to make it more Star Trek-y. So what would normally be classified as a heroic type event is now more of a quantum event. And as you can see, we do have a temporal artifacts event coming up here next week. Actually, there's 2 of them this month. You've got some Picard Day events, June 16th, Jean-Luc Picard Day. There's some trivia events and things like that coming up. And we also have some ticket events coming up on the weekends. We'll see what kind of currency and things those are paying out. Okay. How much Trellium A I need for that mission? You need 15,000 raw Trellium A for that mission in Alaterra. And then, let me see if I can pull that back up. Let's see if I can, I don't remember what the name of it was, but maybe we can find it. In stfc.space. Oh, it even tells you there's a mission in that system. Missions into the mirror. Here we go. Donate 15,000 raw Trellium A. And for doing that, it gives you 500 uncommon keys, some premium keys, and then a whole bunch of dust. Which is pretty good. That should certainly help do a lot of the research. And like I said, there is an event going on right now. You've got this Mirror Upgrades SLB event, which is spending the dust on research. And you can see people have quite a bit there in terms of scoring. But the rewards for it, a bunch of epic materials. Epics and rares, okay. For winning, for second place, yeah, even some. So it's a crystal one, titanium and crystal and whatnot, but actually giving out some epics, which is a little unusual. All right. But let's do a little bit more of that research. In our new mirror tree here, so I could at least get my apex barrier up a little bit more with my common materials. I think I have to do this one to unlock other stuff. Yep, there we go. Now I can do, that's also common. This is also common. This is going to boost my loot drop, okay. So instead of getting low numbers, I now get an extra 50% raw materials off the hostiles from killing them. And this would also be the way I would want to advance my refinery. But none of these yet are using all of the other materials that I just got. And I don't think anything out here does. This is all premium stuff. That's what you're buying. So all those uncommon, rare, and whatever, my only option at this point would either be to hold them, which is what I'm going to do, or trade them down so I could just do more of this research faster, but no thank you. I'll just wait. So Randumar, you can't unlock the missions because you're upgrading your holodeck. Oops. Well, hopefully it doesn't take too long to upgrade. We didn't even talk about the missions and stuff yet. I think that's it for how this whole mirror universe thing works. Does anybody have any questions about anything we've gone over for the last hour and a half? We tried to take them as they came, but, you know, some of it may have gotten lost along the way. Can I go over it again? And you can just watch the video tomorrow. Watch as many times as you want. Everything we did just go over will be clipped and will be exported over to YouTube as soon as I'm done streaming tonight. So if you want to go back and look at some of the stuff again, it'll all be there for your viewing pleasure.